basic math area that some people struggle with. Let's try this one. Let's try fractions real quick. We struggle with fractions, and that's okay. But let's talk about fractions. Let's say we have 1/2 plus 1/4. All right, so we're going to talk about adding and subtracting here first. Okay. When you do fractions, what has to happen is the bottom of the fraction has to be the same number. That's not true this time, so we have to get them to be the same number so that you can add them together. So basically you have to figure out what number do 2 and 4 both go into. They both go into 4. A 2 goes into 4 and 4 also goes into 4. Well, for them both to have the same number on the bottom, I'm going to have to convert this one into something over 4. How can I do that? Well, I know that 2 times 2 is 4. Oh, remember in the first lesson where we talked about whatever you do on one side, you do on the other side, you have this balancing thing? Okay? If you haven't watched that video, just a reminder, whatever you do on one side, sort of like a seesaw. Whatever you do on one side, you do on the other side so that things stay balanced. If 2 times 2 gives 4, then 1 times 2 gives you a 2. 2/4 is the same as 1/2, so let's take that out. Now they both have a 4 on the bottom. All you have to do is add the top numbers. 2 plus 1 is 3. My answer is 3/4. That's how you do fractions for addition. Let's do another one. Let's say we had 2/4 minus 1/2. All right? They both have to have the same thing on the bottom. Well, again, they both go into 4. So that means I have to convert this one. 2 times 2 is 4, so I have to do the same thing on the top. 1 times 2 is a 2. Okay, so 1/2 is 2/4. So 2/4 minus 2/4. They have a 4 on the bottom, so the 4 stays the same. And 2 minus 2 is 0, and 0 over anything is 0. There's my answer. So sometimes things disappear. Addition and subtraction have exactly the same rules. It's all about the bottom number. They call that, if you want the technical term, it's called the denominator. The denominator. It has to be the same. And so before you can add and subtract, so as soon as I got them the same, I could add the top or subtract the top and get my answers. That's how you do addition and subtraction. So one more of these real quick. Let's say I had 3/12 plus 2/6. What do I get? Well, they don't match, so how do I get them to match? They both go into 12. So that means I have to convert this one, or I have to change it. 6 times 2 is 12, so the top 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, 6 times 2, that's multiplying by 2, that's multiplying by 2. So take that out. They're both over 12. Got it. Add the top numbers. 7/12 is my answer. That was not too hard. It's just hard to remember those rules. Sometimes it's been a while since we've done it. Now, when you do multiplication and division, I'm going to leave this top example so you can compare it. If you're going to do multiplication and division, this is where we get mixed up. Let me show you the difference real quick. Let's say we're doing the same question we had a while ago. That was 1/2. I scratched it out, but it was 1/2. But this time, let's say we're multiplying by 1/4. Well, in multiplication and division, the bottom does not have to be the same. All you have to do is top times top, bottom times bottom. So 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 4 is 8. I've got my answer. Pretty simple. So fractions with multiplication and division multiply across. So I'm going to multiply across and I have my answers. Not too bad. Let's try another one. 3/12 times 2/6. Well, multiply across. 3 times 2 is 6. 12 times 2, well, you might have to grab a calculator, but the answer here is 72. So you have 6 over 72. Now, a lot of times what they'll ask you to do is they'll ask you to simplify. And simplify means, is there something you can take out of the top and the bottom to make the number look a little easier? Well, I know a 2 goes into this. Does a 2 go into that? Well, it ends in a 2. I bet it does. If I take a 2 out, 6 divided by 2 is a 3. If I put a 2 into that one, I get 36. And that's good, 3 over 36. If I look carefully, well, I can actually reduce that again. A 3 actually goes into both of those. 3 goes into there 1 time, and a 3 goes into there 12 times. So the answer, when it's completely simplified, is 1/12. 1 over 12, because I could simplify it, and I saw a 2, and then I saw a 3, so I took out a 2 here, and I took out a 3 here. And if I do it on the top, I have to do it on the bottom. So I always did it in both places, and I simplified it. But I'm going to show you a little shortcut, because as I've learned going along, if I can learn shortcuts, my life becomes easier, and I can make things that aren't so difficult, make it a lot easier. Let's take this same example. There's got to be an easier way. Well, this is really sort of cool. You got to watch this very carefully. Whenever you're multiplying, only when you're multiplying and dividing, if you ever see a number that you can take out of both a top and a bottom, you can take it out. For example, I see there's a 3 here and a 6 here. Those both have a 3 in them. So let's just take that 3 out. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Great. Okay, I see another one. There's a 2 on the top and a 2 on the bottom. I can reduce that also. That becomes a 1 and that becomes a 1. Okay, what's left? Multiply across the top. It says multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 12 times 1 is 12. Notice? Got the same answer. How did I do that? Well, I ended up taking out a 2 and taking out a 3. I just did it at the beginning. Now you can only do this in multiplication and division. Make sure we've got it. In addition and subtraction, the one we got a while ago, it's all about the denominator. The denominator has to be the same. That's the important part. Maybe you want to go back and write that in. Had to be the same. For multiplication and division, that's not true. You just have to multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. If you see anything in there that can come out, just reduce it, and you've got it. This is what is called to simplify. Now let's do one other example to make sure we understand how to simplify. Okay? Now this one's going to seem crazy. And when you first look at it, you're going to be like, I can't do that. Oh yeah, this one's pretty cool. Let's say I had some crazy problem they want me to do on the test. And I have all these numbers on the top. Wow, that'd be a lot of numbers to multiply. 2, 4, 6, 5, 27. And they ask you to simplify or come up with the answer, okay? Anytime you see a division line or things sitting next to each other, which is multiply, try to make your life easier by getting rid of things that look the same. Do I have any numbers on the top and the bottom that match? Okay, I have a 2. Those are gone. I have a 5. Those are gone. I have a 6. Wow, it's getting a lot easier. Let's see. I see 9 times 3 is 27. Wow, that was tricky, but I got that one. 9 times 3 is 27. I'm just marking them out as they go. And I have a 4 and a 12. Well, a 4 goes into 12. That becomes a 1, and that becomes a 3. I marked everything out. The answer is 3 over 1, or 3. All of that stuff in there actually cancels out, and the answer ends up being 3. Now, you could put it in your calculator, but if you push the button wrong, you might miss it. Notice, only in multiplication and division, but if there are numbers on the top and the bottom that go into each other, mark them out. Like in this case, the 2 and the 2, they equaled out. In this case, the 4 went into the 12 3 times, and I had a 3 left over. The 9 times 3 marked out the 27. The 5s were gone, and that made my life a lot easier. Sometimes you just have to look at what's there and what you can simplify. Now again, if you want to make sure you have a rule, in multiplying and dividing, look to simplify. Make your life easier, if you can, so that you can get it toward something you can deal with. These skills will help you in a lot of the other videos you're going to watch in a little bit. So I would suggest keep this paper handy with fractions and number lines and all this so you can refer back to it during some of the other videos. You're doing good. Keep up with me, work all the problems, and we'll make it through these different videos. See you in the next video.